G'day traders, Stacey Burke from Stacey Burke Trading. A technical and mindset reset video as we head into a CPI Wednesday today. We're going to do a little reset and just go back to some really basic fundamental understandings to hopefully accelerate and skyrocket your trading results. Focusing on one setup and taking it seriously so that you can become profitable. As Linda Raschke said, all you need is one pattern to make a living. Now in the masterclass and in the playbook, my main focus has been hunting out specific setups that rinse and repeat on any market, on any instrument. And one of the most important things is to protect yourself. That is the idea behind hunting setups where it's virtually the odds are skewed heavily in your favor and it's almost impossible for the trader to lose on the setup unless they do things that are self-destructive and self-sabotaging. So I want to just paint a picture here. If we're pattern hunting, if we're hunting one setup that can skyrocket our trading results, imprinting this blueprint on your muscle memory and understanding that if I don't have this particular setup on a market, that I'm not trying to trade it so I can try and catch a move. Now, one of the questions I'm going to get right away about this particular chart is, which market is this? Which instrument is this, Stacey? Which currency pair or which index or which gold? Which metal is this? Is this gold or silver or is this oil? And my response to that is, who cares what instrument it is? This is the setup that I'm hunting. And if it doesn't look like this, why am I going to try and catch the move? If that's the pattern, the one pattern that I'm hunting, does it matter what instrument this is on? Now, this chart has specific criteria that will bring it up on a watch list. And if it doesn't look like this, and it's not set up like this chart, why would I try to figure out what that market might do today if that's not my setup? Now, if that's my setup and I'm looking at the NASDAQ chart for today, it doesn't look anything like that chart. So obviously, the NASDAQ does not have my setup. I'm not going to sit here and mark off every level and try to figure out where it's going to go. I'm not going to worry about that instrument until it's set up like this chart right here. If I'm looking at the Dow today, it doesn't look like my setup. So I'm not going to try and figure out what the Dow might do today. If it doesn't have my setup, I'm going to the next chart. It doesn't look like this, so it's not my setup. I'm not going to try and figure out what it might do today. Now, sometimes I might get a chart that starts to set up like the one I just showed you, but it sets up a little bit differently, but it still sets up for me to have my trade set up in the timing window as the market continues to trade into my session timing window. Some days it might start to set up and I come to the screen and it's already left the station, but it continues to fulfill the overall pattern and there may be a low-hanging fruit continuation. Other days I come to the screen and although it came up on my watch list, it doesn't set up at all. There's no setup. I don't still try to trade it even though I can catch the low or catch the high. It's not my setup. That's my setup. And so I sit on my hands and I wait until I find the instruments that come up on my watch list that are actually set up into the pattern where it's almost impossible for me to lose on. And then I wait and let the market set up so that I can position myself, manage my risk, put an entry in, a stop loss, and then walk away. So if I'm trying to trade one instrument every day, the likelihood of me getting my easy money-making opportunity on the same instrument every single day are slim to none. But if I hunt this setup on a basket of instruments, I might get one or two a week or even 2 or 3 a month. But this is a scalable opportunity that when I find it, I'm going to be able to scale into, position myself in the market, place my stop loss. If I'm scaling in, placing my stop losses on all those positions, going to break even once a level is broken, and then holding till close, allowing the market to play out. There's nothing to manage on this trade. That's the setup that I'm hunting. There's no rocket science. There's no levels or gaps or hunts. It's a setup. This is the pattern that I'm looking for. It's as simple as that. I don't try to figure out what markets are doing each day and then trade them. So if that's my setup, the Dow doesn't have my setup today. The Russell doesn't have my setup today. The S&P doesn't have my setup today. Now, if we go back and just look at the NASDAQ, let's look at this. Now, remember what my setup was. That's my setup. NASDAQ does not have my setup today. The market is full of noise and distraction, almost like a kindergarten school at playtime. It's chaotic. People are running around and screaming, and traders are trying to catch moves on every market that's moving. Now, I'm hunting a setup. Now, one of the ways to make things stress-free, zero emotion, zero thinking, and zero management are to hunt out the easy money-making setups where it's almost impossible for me to lose on. Focus on one style of setup and master it. That's what I'm doing. That's all that I'm doing, and that's all that I'm hunting. If I haven't planned for a trade, why would I take it? I don't care how good it looks if it's moving. If it hasn't been planned or it's not my setup, why would I want to take that trade when my goal is one pattern that can make me a lot of money? Not trying to take 10,000 trades, taking the one trade 10,000 times. I am not interested in becoming a button clicker and a movement chaser. My point is this. If you focus on one style or one setup or one or two setups where it's almost impossible for you to lose on, and then learn to sit on your hands in between, why would you want to do anything else? Now, some people find that really hard. They want to take trades. They want to take trades, except then they get chopped up on the wrong day, or they blow their account up because they went into tilt, or they over leveraged, or they over traded, or they went back just for a bit more, but it got them into the market, and all of a sudden they went underwater, and then they went into tilt, and they did all kinds of crazy things. But if they just stuck to that one setup or one or two setups, it would have been worth it. So if that's the setup that I'm hunting and none of the indexes look like my setup today, why do I want to try and trade them? If gold isn't set up like my setup, why do I want to try and trade it? That's 50-50 if I try and trade it. But if I take the trade where I almost can't lose on, why wouldn't I just sit and wait for that opportunity to show up? And if oil's kind of set up, but it's already left the station, maybe there'll be a low-hanging fruit, or it's already moved and there's just no setup today, and I say next. I go and look at the next instrument to see how it's setting up. I'm not interested to try and catch the move or see if I can grab the bottom today. I'm looking for my setup. So when people say all kinds of crazy stuff like it looks good in hindsight and everything else, well, let me ask you this. Which setup are you hunting? Which setup? If it doesn't look like this and that's my setup, why would I want to try and trade it? But if it looks like this and that's my setup, and I know how to trade it because I've traded it 1,000 times, why wouldn't I just sit around and wait for this setup and then put my entry in, my stop loss, my break-even point, and then walk away? That's my setup. That's how simple this can be. That's all I'm looking for. And in the meantime, I sit on my hands and wait. There might be some other nail and bail opportunities that are similar, that are session opportunities. But if that's the setup that I'm hunting every week and the markets aren't set up like that, I am not trying to trade the movement so I can catch a trade. Now, if Bitcoin doesn't have my setup today, I'm not going to try and trade Bitcoin either. Now, it may have offered us a great trade yesterday, a continuation, low-hanging fruit in the U.S. session, but it's not set up today. Come back tomorrow and check it again. Now, the Japanese yen's already broken out today. It's not closed for the day yet, so maybe tonight it will show up on my watch list, and it might actually start to set up into my pattern. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but right now it's in breakout, so we'll see how it closes today after CPI, and we'll see how the market sets up tomorrow into my timing window to see if it offers me a setup that I almost can't lose on. Now, if I try and catch the high today, this market may actually stay in breakout, and traders are going to say, yeah, but it was up high. I tried to short it. It didn't go anywhere, except that my pattern doesn't go anywhere until the next day after it closes in breakout. I'm not interested in trying to catch the high today. I'm looking for my setup after it closes in breakout. So if those other markets don't look like my setup, I'm not going to try and trade them today. That's 50-50. This setup, when it shows up though, is 90-10, and I almost can't screw this up. Entry, stop loss, break even, and take profits on any instrument on any day of the week. And I can rinse and repeat this setup, and I can scale it up in size. I have zero interest in trying to catch moves inside and grab some pips and grab the low and get the high and catch the move and grab this move at lunchtime and at the end of the day and in the morning. And no, I'm looking for one specific pattern that rinses and repeats on any instrument on any day of the week. And when I find it, one pattern that can make you a lot of money. Not trying to catch the high or grab the move or the liquidity sweep or the hunt or the gap or the lunchtime move or the end of day move or the morning move. One pattern, one setup on any instrument that rinses and repeats and is scalable in size. And in between, if I don't find that setup, I do nothing. I sit on my hands and I wait. There's nothing to do. This setup, though, when it shows up, has zero thinking, zero stress, zero emotion, and zero management. The trader is the number one reason most traders will fail. They engage in impulsive, irrational, erratic trading, 50-50 trading, inconsistently over time. The results are inconsistent, but they also put themselves into situations where they can go on tilt. They can engage in emotional, self-destructive, degenerate gambler behavior when they're behind closed doors at the keyboard. But then they say, no, I did everything right. The system didn't work. When in reality, they don't actually have one pattern or one setup that they're hunting. They go to the screen each day trying to trade whatever's up high or down low or what's moving today, instead of just hunting one setup that can make them a lot of money. That's a mindset reset for today, traders. Keep things very, very simple. Rinse and repeat. Scale them up in size. No tea leaf reading. Make things as simple and reproducible and scalable as possible. Have a great day, and may the markets go with you.